Hello and welcome. Tonight, opposition senators stage walkout from the chambers as lawmakers across party lines give President 6 weeks to fix insecurity in the country or face impeachment. Federal government response to impeachment call says war against terror is on course and government is working round the clock to address the security challenges. ASU organised labour hold what they say is a grand finale of solidarity protest in Abuja, mount pressure on the federal government to honour its agreement with university lecturers.
On business news tonight, Senate to summon Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele over the declining value of the naira as the currency hits 700 to the dollar at the parallel market.
On sports news tonight, the 2022 Commonwealth Games begins tomorrow with more than 5,000 athletes representing 72 nations and territories set to compete in 19 sports and 280 medal events over a packed 11 days.
And from Abuja, House of Representatives to beam searchlights on the electoral processes and recent off-season elections in Osun and Ekiti states, and then find out INEC's understanding of the Electoral Act.
From London, gas prices have soared after Russia further cut gas supplies to Germany and other European countries after it threatened to earlier this week.
Outrage over the prevailing insecurity in the country appears to be heightening as opposition senators, joined by some lawmakers of the ruling party today, threaten to impeach the president over the matter. The angry lawmakers staged a walkout from plenary, calling on President Muhammadu Buhari to tackle the security crisis frontally. Earlier, the Senate Minority Leader had raised a point of order, asking the President of Senate to discuss the security crisis, but was ruled out of order by the Senate President. Our correspondent, Linda Kibe, reports. We'll bring you that report shortly, but one of the senators that staged the walkout today, former Senate Minority Leader Enaya Baribe, has been speaking on the lawmakers' protest. Senator Enaya believes that President Buhari has not shown enough commitment by holding officers under him accountable for the recurring security breaches in the country. Senator Baribe was our guest this evening on our program, Politics Today.
How could a president, after what happened in Kuje, go there, let the whole world know, oh, something is wrong? What has happened? What has happened since then?
What do you suppose that the president should have done? I mean, if you say that things are deteriorating, things are getting bad security-wise, is there one thing that you have in mind? Because if you impeach the president, if you have the powers to do that, then someone gets into office. Someone from the APC, possibly, I mean, most definitely. Is there something that you hope that the president could have done that he's not doing?
Just one thing. The buck stops on your table. You are the commander-in-chief. A major matter like Kuje happens. No head rolls. If nobody's fired for doing anything, for not doing anything, why do you think anybody would try or bother himself?
Do you
the reason why you are president... Listen, during the Second World War, one of the best commanders in the United States was fired by the president at that time during the war. And if nobody, look, you have to do things to show that you care about what is going on.
Meanwhile, the federal government is assuring Nigerians that efforts to bring the security situation in the country under control are being stepped up. Addressing State House correspondents after the Federal Executive Council meeting, the Minister of Information and Culture, Mr. Lai Mohammed, describes as laughable the threat by the Abuja-Kaduna train terrorists to go after the president and Kaduna State Governor. The assurance from the government is coming ahead of the National Security Council meeting tomorrow.
On the heels of security threats in the nation's capital, President Muhammadu Buhari presides over the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting. The meeting starts with a moment of silence in honor of former Minister of State for Power and Steel, Chief Oyekunle Oluwasomi, who died at 85. As expected, the security situation in the country is brought to the fore, especially in light of the impeachment threat by senators and the latest attack on the Guards Brigade in Abuja. The federal government assures Nigerians that efforts are in place to improve the situation.
As to the resolution passed by Senate, as rightly said, it was passed when we were deliberating, but we thank them for their patriotism and their concern, but we have already, we are working around the clock, 24 hours, to ensure that Nigerians are, the situation is brought under control.
The minister also responds to the threat to abduct the president.
As to those who have issued threats to Mr. President, I think it's more propaganda than anything. It's laughable. I want to reassure you that the government is up to the task of ensuring security. Security challenges will come anywhere in the world. The important thing is the fact that you do not lose focus and you continue to work assiduously to overcome it. I want to assure you we are going to overcome.
The president is expected to convene the third Security Council meeting within a month on Thursday, July the 28th, 2022.
Let's now return to our lead story of opposition senators joined by some lawmakers of the ruling party today threatening to impeach the president over insecurity. The angry lawmakers staged a walkout from plenary, calling on President Buhari to tackle the security crisis frontally.
Nigerian workers standing their ground at the National Assembly premises, demanding that President Buhari should end the ongoing strike by university lecturers in the country. In the Senate chamber, senators cocooned themselves behind closed doors in an executive session. The closed-door session ends 2 hours later, and the minority leader moves a point of order, reminding the Senate president of the decision taken during the executive session.
We had discussed the issues as they relate to security in the country and all the issues around it. And we had also discussed that we're going to come back to plenary to discuss the efforts that have been made so far on the issues of security in the country. After which we will give an ultimatum to the president that he resolves this issue, otherwise we will give an impeachment notice. And as such...
Minority Leader, when you are going to come under your point of order, first, you are supposed to cite the order. Second, you are supposed to discuss with me what you are going to discuss. You didn't. Thirdly, I read the progress report. Thirdly, when I read it, when some of our colleagues were still not listening. Thirdly, we have already passed that stage. Look at where we are today. So, just hold on, please. So, at this moment, that point of order, I don't know what it is, but falls flat on its face.
Displeased with the response of the Senate president, lawmakers from opposition parties stage a walkout. They assemble at the press center to brief journalists, making their demands clear.
The Senate had at various levels, at various times, convened various security meetings, various security issues were discussed, and we did recommend to government various steps and measures aimed at curbing these issues of insecurity. We realized that even Abuja that we are in is no longer no more safe, and all of you will agree with us. And so at the closed session we agreed that we will give the president an ultimatum that failing which, if it is not complied with, will move immediately to give an impeachment notice. And this we agreed at the executive session, at closed door session. So when we came out of the closed door session, we expected that the Senate President will brief the public on the issues that have happened, but however, that did not happen.
Yes. How soon will you formalize your impeachment threat against the president?
Well, we have given 2 months notice within which 6 weeks, within 6 weeks precisely, within which these security issues should really be resolved. Even if it is, all our resolutions should also be implemented.
However, it appears that the ultimatum to President Buhari is not supported by only lawmakers from opposition parties.
I think it would be wrong to say the opposition. It was a collective decision to give ultimatum. It was not the opposition.
The Senate has proceeded on its annual summer holiday to resume on September 20th, meaning the 6-week ultimatum will elapse while the National Assembly is on recess. According to Section 143 of the 1999 Constitution, 1/3 of lawmakers in each chamber is required to sign a notice of allegation in writing to begin the impeachment process against the president, and 2/3 majority of lawmakers in each chamber is required to move a motion that the allegation necessitating impeachment be investigated. Linda Akibe, Channels Television News.
The attack on the Presidential Guards Brigade on the Buhari-Dutse Road has raised the security alert in the Federal Capital Territory. Following the incident, the FCT administration ordered the immediate closure of all schools in the nation's capital. The order, which is contained in a memo issued by the Education Secretariat, is coming after an emergency evacuation of the students from the Federal Government College, Kwali. In part 2, after the break, the NLC takes its solidarity protest with ASU to the National Assembly, plus former Accountant General of the Federation and 4 others to know fate tomorrow as FCT High Court resumes sitting on the alleged 109 billion naira fraud. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Opposition senators stage walkout from the chambers as lawmakers across party lines give president 6 weeks to fix insecurity in the country or face impeachment. Federal government responds to impeachment call, says the war against terror is on course as government is working around the clock to address security challenges. ASU Organised Labour hold what they say is a grand finale of solidarity protests in Abuja, mount pressure on the federal government to honour its agreement with university lecturers. Plus, gas prices soar after Russia further cuts gas production supplies to Germany and European countries. Let's bring you more on the FCT security situation. This is following the IGP's order and additional deployment to the nation's capital, of course, following the attack on the Presidential Guards Brigade of the Buhari-Dutse Road, which led to the emergency evacuation of students from the Federal Government College, Kwali. Security checks at major entry points into the nation's capital will be getting intense following the directive by the Inspector General of Police for the deployment of officers to critical points across the federal capital. Although pockets of security operatives can be seen in different parts, checkpoints like this are not unusual for many residents. However, the recent attacks in the nation's capital raise questions.
You cannot have, with all profound respect, personnel of the Presidential Guards Brigade being killed in Abuja and the president trundling off to Liberia to deliver a lecture on security. Are you serious?
We are dealing with something that is extremely intelligent. It has a global reach. It is a hydra. It collapses nations from within. There are people in the corridors of power who are working in cahoots with this menace.
More worrisome is the attack on the Presidential Guard, the second in a month. A statement from the Kogi state government confirmed the death of two officers, Captain Samuel Atta and Lieutenant Ibrahim Suleiman. These recent happenings follow the attack on the Kuje Correctional Facility, and this has further exacerbated the tension in the Federal Capital Territory.
In my understanding of what happened in both the Kaduna train incident as well as the Kuje incident, there was intelligence. Rather, it's a failure to use that intelligence, and that can be attributed to a couple of things. Number one, the lack of harmony and coordination within the security sector, where you are having organizations that have overlapping functions, where sometimes the objectives, the mandate of these organizations are not delineated carefully, and then more importantly, the absence of coordination within them.
I don't think the government will be intimidated, and the government should never allow itself to be intimidated. I don't think so. There should be, I expect also, should be regular consultation and engagement among security agencies.
The FCT administration has already shut down all schools in the nation's capital as they rounded off their third-term examinations. And to the Nigeria Labour Congress solidarity protest with the Academic Staff Union of Universities. It continued today, this time in the nation's capital. NLC President Comrade Ayuba Waba, former Senator Mr. Shehu Sani, and the Country Director of Action Aid Nigeria, NAOB, were among those who led the second day of the action against the prolonged industrial action by university lecturers. They were joined by the President of the Trade Union Congress, Mr. Festus Osifo, the ASU President, Professor Emmanuel Sodeke, and the immediate past President of ASU, Professor Biodun Ogunyemi.
Injury to one is injury to all. And members of the nation's top labor unions and their affiliates converge on the Unity Fountain, a popular protest ground in the capital city, as early as 9 in the morning. They're joined by some members of the civil society organizations.
All Congress should fall behind the banner, please.
It is the second day of the two-day nationwide protest declared by the union. Security men are on ground to ensure there is no breakdown of law and order. Under heavy security, they chant solidarity songs and carry banners and placards bearing various inscriptions, stating their demands. They then march towards the National Assembly. At the gates, it's free entry for the unions as they peacefully march towards the building of the National Assembly. When they arrive, they're received by federal lawmakers. Labor leaders then again condemn the federal government's attitude towards the industrial action, which has been going on for the past 5 months. The unions vow not to back down until their demands are met.
The attention cannot be diverted, and basically we remain focused, and basically it's a very serious issue. My children, 2 children, are in the public universities, if you are not aware. So I'm personally affected, as many parents. So this is a very serious national issue. So we shouldn't deviate. Yes, politicians can actually try to deviate our attention. They will try to postulate many other issues that are out of the place. Let them resolve the issue. If they resolve the issue, we'll be back. But nobody is happy, including yourself.
Have been mobilized to fight for their country, fight for their education. I think it's a very good, and I praise the leadership of NSC for initiating this. The leadership of this country really take this country serious. They should act immediately and not allow NSC to declare first a 3-day morning strike and then a full strike. The committee to negotiate was set up in 2017, just 2 years after they took over. Until today, they have not finished negotiation. You show that party is not serious. It's not about APC or whether PDP or Labour Party. What have they done? You set up a panel to negotiate on your behalf in 2017. 2 years into your first tenure. We are in the last months to where your second tenure. And yet, that panel had not concluded.
We have had this unfortunate situation of the introduction of IPPIS, which was forced on us as a payment platform. And immediately that thing was deployed, our members became poorer. Our salaries were mutilated. Our members became, struggling you don't even know what you are paid.
I present this, Mr. Chairman, on behalf of the Speaker, whom you are representing, to you. Thank you.
After presenting their demands to the representatives of the lawmakers, there's a promise to table the issue before the National Assembly leadership.
We are with you. The National Assembly has never been outside of this decision to end and stop this strike. We have worked, we have discussed this extensively to look at the issue. It's not a welcome development in any country that all our schools are shut down. It's not the best. So we are here with you. I want to tell you that in the parliament there, all of us are speaking with one voice, condemning this exercise. When I show you, you will not believe it because you don't say it. But we want to tell you we are with you.
The labour unions have pledged to take further action if their demands are still not met.
Meanwhile, before now, the Minister of Labour, Dr. Chris Ngige, was not forthcoming with a response on the two-day nationwide protest by the NLC and ASU and other civil society organisations. But in a response to Channels Television via SMS today, Dr. Ngige explains that the Minister of Education, Madam Adamu Adamu, is now back to the negotiating table with the university lecturers. The President had on July 19th directed the Minister of Education to proffer a solution to the lingering impasse and report back to him in 2 weeks. The President placed priority on the issue of resolving the lingering ASU strike and directed the Minister of Labour and Employment, as well as the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, be in attendance in all the meetings to speedily resolve the crisis. And let's head to our Abuja studios where Linda Kigbe is standing by with more stories. Hi, Linda.
Hello, Millicent. And let's return to the National Assembly once more, where the House of Representatives has resolved to carry out an investigation into the credibility and transparency of INEC's electoral processes and its interpretation of the Electoral Act. This followed a motion on the recent off-season elections in Osun and Ekiti states by Honorable Mark Bila, questioning the electoral umpire's decision-making process. Our correspondent Terry Kumi has details of this and more from the lower legislative chamber.
Wednesday's plenary in the House of Representatives commences almost 1.5 hours behind schedule.
A motion on the investigation
The recently concluded Osun and Ekiti state governorship elections using the newly amended Electoral Act is a matter of debate. Lawmakers are interested in finding out if the electoral umpire complied with the law in conducting the off-season elections.
That these concerns include allegations that results from polling units are not actually transmitted directly to INEC Central server in Abuja as claimed by INEC, but are collated on computers by e-collation officers at the ward levels across the country who are the ones who transmit the results from their systems to the central server and are able to manipulate the votes cast for each candidate at that level, but not the number of accredited voters.
I don't know if it is also within our purview to interpret the law that we have made, because this is telling us to interpret it, to investigate it.
I think we should not exacerbate the debate. Allow the committee to look into it and act in accordance with what is scheduled and what is possible, so that we do not waste time.
Meanwhile, lawmakers in the Green Chamber are also concerned about the management of food resources and mitigation of a potential food crisis following the insecurity in the country and the Ukraine-Russian war.
Considering the fact that many farming communities have abandoned their farms and are seeking refuge in urban centers and internally displaced persons camps, and concerned that should no proactive actions be taken now, the impending hunger and food shortages would worsen Nigeria's security situation.
Another matter of concern for the Green Chamber is Nigeria's losses in the fight against malaria.
The House therefore resolves to urge the Federal Ministry of Health, the National Malaria Program, and other relevant ministries, departments, agencies to comply with the resolution to prioritize local content when procuring malaria commodities using funds from the Impact Project Facility. Number two, the House resolves to invite the leadership of the National Malaria Program to explain why defective mosquito nets are still procured.
Considering that Nigeria is one of the biggest beneficiaries of the Global Fund grant with a value of $412 million, lawmakers are concerned that the country is at risk of losing the grant and other partnership opportunities as a result of poor absorption, poor performance, and lack of domestic resource mobilization. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Senate summons Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele over the declining value of the naira as the currency hits 700 to the dollar at the parallel market. That's in business news. Join us again. Welcome back to the news at 10, coming to you live from Abuja. The Nigeria Governors Forum has waded into the controversial reintroduction of the National Water Resources Bill, saying the bill does not adequately address the interests of the states. In a communique released after their teleconference last night, the governors also note that the bill is inconsistent with the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The call for a review of the document with a view to accommodating the concerns of all states. The forum also received presentations from the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Dr. Mohammed Abubakar, on the Livestock Productivity and Resilience Support Project, and unanimously decided to spearhead the program in their states. Other issues discussed at the meeting include government's response to the fallout of the Russia-Ukraine war, the impact of PMS subsidy on government's finances, implications of NNPC's new transition on federation revenues, and the widening gap between the official and parallel market rate of $1 on the naira. Now to the judiciary. Justice Adeyemi Ajayi of the Federal Capital Territory High Court has fixed tomorrow, Thursday, July the 29th, for ruling on the bail application of the former Accountant General of the Federation, Ahmed Idris, and 4 others. At the resumed sitting today, counsel to Mr. Idris, Chris Uche, praised the court to admit the defendant to bail in liberal terms as the alleged offences are bailable. Opposing the bail application, the counsel to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Rotimi Jacobs, held that the court should look at the gravity of the alleged offences and refuse bail. He also says he is ready to close the case in 1 week as he has about 10 witnesses. Justice Ajayi subsequently adjourned the matter till tomorrow for ruling on the bail application. Staying with legal matters, the chairman of the Body of Benches and senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Wole Olanipekun, is advising lawyers not to see the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee as a place to settle scores with imaginary enemies. He says the duty of the committee is to discipline erring lawyers. He made a statement at the call to bar ceremony for over 1,461 new lawyers in Abuja.
A sea of heads of new lawyers dressed in bibs and gowns, ready for their introduction into the Nigerian bar. Over 1,400 of them successfully completed the May 2022 bar final examinations. Members of the body of benchers, led by its chairman, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Wole Olanipekun, filed into the hall. Those in attendance includes past justices of the Supreme Court, judges of other courts, senior advocates of Nigeria, and many others. The president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Olumide Akpata, is conspicuously missing. The association had asked Chief Olanipekun to recuse himself as the chairman of the body of benchers, following alleged professional misconduct by a partner in his firm. Despite this call, the chairman goes ahead with the day's business, charging the new lawyers to uphold the tenets of the profession. He, however, explains that the body of benchers will not interfere with any outcome of any proceedings before the legal practitioners' disciplinary committee.
It is important to point out that the LPDC is not an avenue for dealing with perceived enemies or ventilation of grievances against fellow lawyers on personal issues. The decision of the LPDC is known as direction, and any appeal against that direction goes directly to the Supreme Court.
Following the security threat on the Abuja campus of the Nigerian Law School, the Director General of the school gives assurance of increased security around its campuses.
To the glory of God, and as reported in my last year's report to your august body, all the orchestrated fears and rumors of imminent attacks on the Nigerian Law School community never and will never see the light of the day. However, adequate safeguards of all the campuses and headquarters in Buhari, here in the federal capital, have been deployed and reinforced.
Other members of the body of benchers also have a word of advice for the new wigs.
It is not a profession that you jump into and begin to cruise without learning. So they should find mentors, work with the people that have experience, and learn the rope.
As the new wigs begin this legal journey, the expectation is that they will uphold the highest standard of the profession, especially at a time when there are calls for reforms on the bench and in the bar.
That's all from Abuja. Back to you, Millicent.
Thanks, Linda. We continue here with some company news. Hypo Toilet Cleaner brand has extended its community development service to Ideal Girls Junior High School, Surulere, and Satellite Town Nursery and Primary School, both in Lagos. Hypo Home Care Limited has constructed 6 toilet units each for the 2 schools in order for the students to have access to suitable restrooms and, of course, to stop open defecation.
Hypo Home Care Limited is taking its corporate social responsibility effort to Ideal Girls Junior High School, Surulere, Lagos, by providing 6 toilet units for the students. The initiative was conceived by a National Youth Service Corps member who was posted to the school.
I nominated the toilet. I did junior toilet, and when the Hypo team saw it, they were moved, and they were like, okay, they want to come and help me with the project. They were the one that made everything possible. They did from the beginning to the end.
Hypo came in partnership with NYSC, and viewing their aims and objectives is in tandem with NYSC. These Hypo have come to light to really see that open defecation is ended in the community.
The national coordinator of the organized private sector, water, sanitation and hygiene, says the federal government is determined to put an end to open defecation. He announces a donation of 100,000 naira to the Corps member.
So as we donate this 100,000 naira to this young lady who actually saw the need for sanitation, the need for hygiene facility. And what Hypo has done, they did not just provide toilet facility. You can see that there is water. Because when we say wash, it's water, sanitation, and hygiene. So I will ask the children, please make sure that when you use the toilet, wash your hands.
Hypo, show me your logo. Hypo! Another one.
For the students and teachers, the gesture is commendable.
Students will in every way use this toilet, and by the time they come back, they will say that it's very clean. So we can only say Thank you to IPO. God bless them, and I pray they'll be able to do more.
Hypo also donated 6 toilet units to Satellite Town Nursery and Primary School 1. Hypo Home Care Limited asked the school management to utilize the facility properly and keep the students safe from diseases.
One of Nigeria's leading non-interest commercial financial institutions, Taj Bank, has gained a national license to operate in the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory. The feat comes just as the bank's balance sheet moved from 50 billion naira in December 2020 to 110 billion naira in 2021, with its profit before tax moving from 820 million naira in 2020 to 1.6 billion naira in 2021. Addressing journalists in Abuja, the bank's Managing Director, Mr. Hamid Joda, said Taj Bank will leverage on technology to create jobs.
It's a news conference to herald the dawn of a new era at Taj Bank. As expected, officials of the bank are here to inform the public on the latest award of a national license. The award is not coming cheap, according to the bank officials, as its balance sheet moved to 110 billion naira in 2021, profit before tax coming to 1.6 billion naira, and earnings per share gained as high as 30 naira 82 kobo, one of the highest in the banking industry.
The central bank looks at so many parameters: capital, management, all the common indices before they consider you worthy of a national license. Now, we went through that rigorous process, and at the end of the day, we were given a national license to operate.
Following this license to operate beyond the northeast and the northwest, the bank plans to leverage on technology and the federal government funding for critical sectors of the economy to contribute its quota to national development while impacting on the livelihood of many Nigerians.
We have recruited staff to serve on the export desk, and with that we'll be able to identify exporters and of course finance them. That is one. And more importantly, identify Nigerian businesses that are keen to find export markets and create those export markets outside Nigeria and fund those businesses so that they are able to export and earn foreign currency.
The bank also plans to roll out a 10 billion naira Sukuk project.
This Sukuk is a 10 billion, is a 100 billion series, but we are starting with 10 billion. It's the first of its kind by a corporate. The usual ones that we know is done by government, but this one is done by a corporate. And within banking sector, this is the first of its kind.
The bank has won numerous awards and has a BBB rating from Augustus & Co. The bank is promising to provide innovative financing and good corporate services as it climbs the ladder in the banking sector.
And for more business news, here's Anne Wilder.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Millicent. Hello and welcome to Business News. Let's begin with the Senate's resolve to summon the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, to explain to lawmakers the reasons for the rapid depreciation in the value of the naira. It has also mandated its Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions to assess the impact of CBN's intervention funds meant to support critical sectors of the economy. The upper chamber is taking these resolutions. Federal legislators considered a motion on the state of CBN's intervention funds and the free fall of the naira. The sponsor of the motion, Senator Olubunmi Adetunbi, bemoans Nigeria's economic challenges, calling for extraordinary measures to address them. The price of Bitcoin has rallied above $22,000 moments after the U.S. Federal Reserve announced a new 75 basis points interest rate hike with a bid to tame the ever-increasing inflation rate. On Tuesday, the world's largest cryptocurrency fell at an intraday low of $20,776. Both cryptocurrency and financial markets have been awaiting the latest rate hike, which was expected to strengthen the dollar and tame the country's high inflation. However, the dollar fell against a basket of major currencies following Fed's rate hike and comments from Fed Chair Jerome Powell. The impact of sell pressure is still taking its toll on Nigeria's stock market as the month and year-to-date returns moderated to minus 3.1% and plus 17.5% amid rebound on activities charts today. Laddie Williams has more.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, it's 3 days into the final trading week of July, and the equities market is still in the red, but this time by a smaller margin from the previous loss. And the bear remains dominant at the close of the midweek trading session on the NGX as another round of sell pressure pushed the benchmark index further south by 0.5%. However, taking a look at the activity chart, we can see it's green across board. Volume was up 431%. Value rose by 39.79%, and deals climbed by 7.77%. Meanwhile, the loss recorded today is attributed to sell pressure on 34 stocks, particularly the shares of Access Corp, GTCO, and Zenith Bank, which all had an impact on the banking sector index of the market. It's the 7th consecutive decline since this decline started last week. But let's keep our expectations for a silver lining on Thursday's trading session. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Laddie Williams. This is back to you.
Laddie. Well, let's find out closing figures from other major markets around the world for Wednesday. Business News tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. Millicent will be back with the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you, Anne. Coming up next on the news at 10, gas prices soar after Russia further cut gas production supplies to Germany and European countries. You stay with us. To Simon Pusey with Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Gas prices have soared after Russia further cut gas supplies to Germany and other Central European countries after threatening to earlier this week. European gas prices rose 9%, trading close to its earlier all-time high after Russia invaded Ukraine. Critics accused the Russian government of using gas as a political weapon. Russia has been cutting flows through the Nord Stream 1 pipeline to Germany, with it now operating at less than a fifth of its normal capacity. US media reports that the Justice Department is examining Donald Trump's actions in connection with efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election.
We may just have to do it again.
It comes after the former president teased a return bid for the White House in a 93-minute speech to the conservative America First Policy Institute. Federal prosecutors have reportedly asked witnesses directly about the behavior of the former US president. So far, they have chosen not to open a formal criminal investigation into Mr. Trump himself. Rioters stormed the US Capitol on the 6th of January in 2021 in an effort to overturn the president's election defeat. Footage from a 7.1 magnitude earthquake in the Philippines, which killed 4 people, has been released. Here, video showing cars crushed under fallen debris. The quake struck about 11 kilometers southeast of the town of Dolores at a shallow depth of 10 kilometers. Still photographs released by the Bureau of Fire Protection showed first responders at various sites of collapsed buildings and structures after the powerful quake struck the northern Philippine island of Luzon. A Sri Lankan lawmaker says the country's former president, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, is expected to return to the country from Singapore. A cabinet spokesperson told reporters that Mr. Rajapaksa was not in hiding, but the date of his return was not known. The former leader fled Sri Lanka after mass unrest over an economic crisis. Many protesters say he mishandled the nation's finances, leading to soaring prices of essential goods. French President Emmanuel Macron has arrived in Benin to discuss security and trade. Mr. Macron is on a tour of Cameroon, Benin and Guinea-Bissau to strengthen political and security ties with countries in West and Central Africa. Benin, alongside the Gulf of Guinea states, Togo and Ivory Coast, has seen increasing attacks from militants linked to Al-Qaeda and Islamic State as violence spreads south from the Sahel countries of Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger. Over 400 migrants on board a German charity rescue ship, Sea-Watch 3, continue to wait to be assigned a port of safety after a busy weekend of rescue operations. The migrants were on board overcrowded boats in distress in the central Mediterranean when reconnaissance aircraft Seabird located them and communicated their position to the rescue ship. More than 37,000 asylum seekers and migrants have landed in Italy since the start of the year, up from some 27,000 in the same period last year. That's according to data from Italy's Interior Ministry. The Pope has arrived in Quebec City to meet government officials and diplomats as part of his week-long tour of Canada. It's after Pope Francis, seated in a wheelchair, blessed a lake before speaking of the wound of violence suffered by Indigenous brothers and sisters and the terrible effects of colonisation. Francis is on a week-long tour of Canada to apologise for the Roman Catholic Church's role in running residential schools that tore Indigenous children away from their families and became places where abuse was rampant. More than 150,000 Indigenous children were separated from their families and brought to residential schools over more than a century. And finally, the space jacket worn by Buzz Aldrin while flying to the moon has sold at a New York auction for $2.8 million. Adorned with a US flag and NASA logo, Mr. Aldrin wore the white in-flight jacket while speeding through space in Apollo 11's Command Module Columbia. It is one of 69 personal belongings that the 92-year-old has decided to put up for sale. The jacket was sold by Sotheby's and becomes the most valuable American space artifact ever sold at auction. The former astronaut travelled to the moon in 1969 and is the only living member of the mission's three-man crew. An estimated 650 million people from around the world watch the moment on television. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon, and welcome to Sports News. The 22nd Commonwealth Games held in Birmingham will begin tomorrow night with the opening ceremony at the city's Alexandra Stadium. Nigeria will participate in 9 sports, that's athletics, boxing, judo, para-athletics, para-powerlifting, para-table tennis, weightlifting, and wrestling. Former Super Eagles coach Adeboye Onigbinde has revealed that Nigerian football is in a bad state because of government involvement in the game. The FIFA and CAF technical instructor says the current administration of football in the country is in breach of FIFA statutes. However, in his reaction, Nigeria Football Federation President Amaju Pinnick differs. He believes the game is on a steady rise. President Cyril Ramaphosa rolled out the red carpet for Victoria, South Africa's women's football team earlier today, saying they deserve to be paid as much as their male counterparts after they won their first Africa Cup of Nations. The victory has sparked a public debate around equal pay in the country after it was reported the players would receive less money in prize bonuses than their male colleagues for reaching the quarterfinals of the men's tournament in 2019. And that's a wrap on Sports News. I'm Victor Matthias. It's back to Millicent.
Thank you, Victor. And the main news again. Opposition senators today staged a walkout from the chambers as lawmakers across party lines gave President Muhammadu Buhari 6 weeks to fix insecurity in the country or face impeachment. That's News at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night and stay safe.